Welcome and thank you for joining us. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. On the program today, we're going to be approaching a subject that we've had here from a time or two, but not quite with the story that we'll be presenting it with you today. On the program, our guest became a Canadian pop star by the age of 10 and had a gold record. By the age of 18, he had two. Of course, in Quebec, number one singles with four more songs hitting number one on the next album, and by the age of 24, after the release of his fifth album, a very big music company decided to offer him a multi-million-dollar contract with the plan to release worldwide with the same team behind Celine Dion. But then he decided, well, I think there's a different calling for me, and decided to pursue something deeper, a spiritual calling, if you will. So, for the next many years, he spent 20 hours a day devoting himself to meditation, prayer, and selfless service. He brings a different gift to the world besides his music, which he still combines entertainment with also a wonderful philosophy of helping people to achieve sort of more of a spiritual quest. On the program today, we're going to be talking with Kaya, and his book is How to Interpret Dreams and Signs. And I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today our special guest, Kaya. Kaya, thank you for joining us here on the program today.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Yeah.
Now, it's really fascinating to see that here you have this book coming from someone, I guess, of your experience and perspective. And I'm sure a lot of people have all obviously asked you the question, geez, you seem to be kind of moving around into a dream or a world, if you will, that a lot of people kind of wish they had, and then you decide to kind of go 180 degrees and go do something else. What was going on there? Was that some sort of a voice that came to you one night?
Yes, it was such an extraordinary period, but also very, very intense for me. It happened 17 years ago, and so I walked away from fame and glory, and everyone was so surprised because everything was going so well. But during that period of time, I have to say that I've always been very, very spiritual since I'm a little kid. I don't come from a religious family, but it was like a natural process in me to always search or to always ask questions about life and everything. And at the age of 25, 26 years old, I was very involved. That was very important for me. So I was involved with different foundations. And I was mostly visiting kids that they were in terminal phases, and one of them, after a visit that I had, that was so touching and so extraordinary, she came to visit to me in a dream after she passed away, and she showed me the tunnel of light that we see normally when we die, and this has been an experience that has completely shifted my consciousness to a level that I was so attracted to know more and more and to understand myself. And after that experience of the tunnel of light that I have seen, when I woke up from that experience, my life was changed forever, and I started to receive 10 to 50 dreams per night. Every night, and since 17 years, I still continue every night to receive 10 to 50 dreams per night. So it was, for me, it was not just like going to read a book or to go in a school to learn dream experimentation. I didn't have any choice, unless I would have become crazy, because the information and the nightmares, not just beautiful dreams, but the nightmares that was helping me to cleanse memories, to visit myself in death. And it was so intense that I followed that quest, and so I decided to turn the page on my musical career at that time. And I lived like a hermit for many, many years in solitude. But I was simultaneously fascinated by dreams, and I just wanted to know more and more, without knowing that I would become, that all my books would be in many countries in the world and stuff like that. This was not in my mind, not at all. but now it's important for me to share because I think dreams are so important. I truly believe that they are our spiritual autonomy, and if we open ourselves to dreams, because we all have the possibility to dream, we all have this within ourselves, but people do not necessarily understand how deep the significations of dreams are for the process of our evolution.
Hmm. Now, I'm sure, Kaya, you've been asked this question, so forgive me for asking it again, but it must have been a very, I don't know, troubling experience for people who were involved and managed your career directly as an entertainer and let themselves scratching their head like, what's this all about?
You have no idea.
No, I'm sure I do.
And
but
I'm still, even today, I remember when I started, because I haven't given interviews for years and years after that, because I was, at that period of time in Quebec, I was on every editorial paper. Everyone was talking that I was completely crazy. And my management team at that time, they were so great, so good with me. I've never had any problems. I was a good artist, not complicated, always devoted and working. You know, the only thing that was my problem I think I was a work alcoholic, and I was just thinking about my work and writing songs during the night, in the middle of the night. I was not sort of living on the planet sometimes. So that was the thing that I had to really work on, you know, to really balance my life more. But yes, you're right. It was a very troubled moment for them, and because everything was there, and they had invested in me millions of dollars at that time, and I was just like, walking away, and I was like I was saying, I was not taking any drugs or alcohol, whatever. I was a good artist, so it was for them, the life plan, and because they was taking care of Celine Dion at the time, so they had all the contacts. So the road was built for me to follow the same path. So yes, it was a difficult moment, even for my family, because you are at the top of the charts. You're number one. I was like so popular, and then from one day to the other, after I shared that and explained that I would turn the page, I was becoming the crazy guy of the village, and the village is big when it is a country. So you can't go anywhere because I was so hypersensitive. So during that period of time, this is why I ended up being a hermit, because it was like everybody was looking at me, and I was feeling all these questions and these non-understanding of what I was going through, and this it took me a long time to deal with that. And the way that I have done at the beginning was just to close myself and just to enter more and more inside. But I think it was my destiny, because if I would not have done that, I think the knowledge that I have in dream interpretations now, I give webinars every week and month in many countries. I travel all around the world now to help people to understand dream interpretations, and so I think all this would not have been possible without going through what I did.
I think it's kind of funny to consider what you decided to do and the reaction that had occurred, and that is, that normally what happens is you stay in the music career, the business, and you become crazy. And you decided to kind of get that out of the way in the beginning and go in a totally different direction, be crazy in the beginning. It's kind of like, hey, why don't you hold on until we drive you nuts? That will make more sense. But no, you decided to kind of do it in the beginning as things were really ramped up and really ready to go and go in a different direction. Now, it's fascinating that you decided to become a hermit, and then it became dream work itself. Now, as you were talking about earlier, Kaya, in the program, that you were having an average of about 50 dreams a night, Now, did you count these? Because I don't know that people typically really remember, how many dreams they've had. They know that they have had dreams, probably a couple of different ones, but how do you know it was about 50 dreams a night?
That's because I, I I I continue, and I still continue today to write every dreams every night.
Okay.
So I wake up many times, almost every hour or 2 hours, and I just keep one eye open, one eye closed, and I write them all. And I've been doing that for 17 years now. And when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I read them. For me, it's like my newspaper. It's my guidance. It's the possibility to know what I have to improve in myself. And of course, the more we work on ourselves, at the beginning we have a lot of nightmares and information that are completely mixed up in dreams. But with time, the more you do cleansing and with all the memories, and the more you rebalance your life, and then you start to receive a lot of premonitory dreams. And with that, then you can decide, you can have direction that are very, very concrete. But of course, this is very important for our listeners to understand that even when we have premonitory dreams about concrete situations, and we see people, we see things, dreams are always there to help us to develop qualities, virtues, and pure powers. It is a language of symbols, and each symbol represent a state of consciousness. So represent qualities or weaknesses or a little bit of both. And all it seems very complicated at the beginning, because it's like everything means something, and it's like an equation. It's like algebra, mathematics of consciousness. That's true, but it is quite simple when we start to interpret one symbol at a time. And we say, okay, this symbol, what is the meaning of that symbol? Is it a positive or negative symbol? First thing then that we have to, and then we understand that every object has a purpose, and it is the purpose of how we use that object. For example, a table. Concretely, we use a table to share a meal, to share information on a paper, because we do our homeworks or whatever. We discuss with others. So it's a symbol of sharing. So in dreams, it becomes a signification. It is a symbol of sharing. So if you see a beautiful table in your dream, then you wake up in the morning, and that day you have the state of consciousness. You have the quality of being capable of sharing in a great way, and it's easy. You have great ideas. You're capable of interacting with others, etc. So, but if the table is broken, then during the day you will feel it's so extraordinary. Just a broken table, it's like it can look like so obvious to think about that. But when we understand that it is a state of consciousness, a representations of energy that interacts into ourselves, into our thoughts, feelings, and concrete aspects. So a broken table we will have difficulties to interact with people and to share with others, and it will be in our personality during the day. If we don't work on it, then we can have more tables that are broken, and then we can be, we can lose our self-esteem or confidence or capacity to really interact with people. If I've been through all these years, I've been working with autistic children, with people with schizophrenia, or lots of mental illness. And when people are going through very, very difficult time in their dreams, you can see, let's say you can arrive in a warehouse of someone like that, and they're going to have like 1,000 broken tables. And they dream about that, and then they wake up. But I can tell you that during the day, they have so many memories that are blocking the possibility inside of them to interact with people and to share with others. And so dreams are absolutely fascinating, and I truly, truly, truly believe that they are the spiritual autonomy of the future generations.
as you say in your book, that this is also a way that God is showing you, because God's purpose is for us to evolve, but that is the goal. It's evolution. And would you say that then with dreams, as you begin to work with them, interpret them, pay attention to the messages, that's exactly what begins to happen?
That's exactly. That was, for me, the most sacred moments of my life were at the beginning when I started to receive, and it's still today. I still have this humility in face of God and all this greatness. For me, when we receive dreams, we receive messages directly from God, from the universe, and that explains our purpose and our life plan. So if we follow the guidance of our dream, it's a spiritual path that is absolutely amazing. And even for me, when I 17 years ago, I started to work with the angels and to trigger dreams. So I've started to because an angel is a representation. If we go with the traditional study of angels, so it's the angels from the origin, in our Christian, Jewish, even Muslim traditions. We all share the same angels, and all the names are in Hebrew. And a name of an angel is not a person, it's not an entity or any. It's a state of consciousness that represents qualities, virtues, and powers of God. So when we start invoking an angel, it is actually a metaphor that represents humans that reach our full and spiritual potential and powers. So, and it is the perfect symbol for dreamers. An angel is really, really human with wings. So it is the representation of all humans that dreams and that can reach their human potential. So as Einstein said, he said we were using 10% of our capacity, and I believe this totally, because I think that as humans, we're here to become angels, and we can become angels. So when we reach and we trigger, and when we find back our spiritual capacities that we all have, which is to dream, which is to be able to understand the multidimensions of our consciousness, our senses, our sensitivity. Just the sensitivity we have, we can understand so many things. A person doesn't have to talk or say anything, and you can perceive information, and you can read thoughts. One day it's so easy to do that, to have clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience. This is something that we all have within ourselves, and through dreams we can really have proof of that.
Now, what's different here in your book is that while we're talking about how to interpret dreams and signs, is that there are a lot of books out there, and I've come across a lot of them over the years, that how to interpret dream symbolism and symbols. And so in here, for instance, there might even be a book that says 10,000 dreams interpreted. And to me, I felt that was too general. How could one size fit all, for instance, because everybody's experience is very unique. It is very different, so you can't really say this absolutely represents that across all boundaries and borders, so to speak. And to me, what I was getting from what you have written is that you exactly follow sort of that thought that I had about dream interpretation and dream symbolism. Now, you did say on the one hand that symbols are pretty fixed and defined for what they are, but they seem to have, more of an adaptability to very unique situations. We'll go ahead and we'll bring up one situation here that you were describing when it comes to water. I myself, I've pretty much had some experience with this over the years, and that is, with water, for instance, rising, you find yourself in a pool, pretty soon you're underneath the water. pretty soon there's the panic and then the feeling, well, I wonder whether or not I could continue with this where I could breathe underwater. I could begin to have a sense of freedom underwater and even swim with that freedom as though this is my natural state, my environment. And you were talking with one dreamer who was a sales representative in Montpelier, I guess it was. Talk about that a little bit if you can, and how you were kind of working with that symbolism of water and how it related to, I guess it was his career.
Yes, yes, that's a very, very great example in the book. That it was a woman, that had an extraordinary career, and which was very fortunate. But simultaneously, she was like quite unbalanced because, in the sense that she was oversensitive, and it was very difficult for her to understand where that sensitivity was coming from. And through her dreams, she was able to really understand that path. So it is very important in dreams to understand that, and you were truly right about that. There's a lot of dictionaries and stuff like that, but most of the time they have just a psychological approach, and they don't have necessarily the spiritual depth that dreams are sort of connected to. And so when we talk about the table previously, so a table for, it's a symbol of sharing. But if it's the table, so it will be the same thing, I have to say, for everyone. You're in Japan, you're in Africa, you're in France, you're in the United States, wherever we are, a table in the dream will be a symbol of sharing. But if it's the table of your grandfather, then it is an equation of consciousness. So we need to know what is the meaning of your grandfather to know what kind of sharing you are doing. Or going through. So if your grandfather is a very generous person, then you do sharing plus generosity, and then you understand more what the table is all about in the dream. So that is where dream interpretation can, at the beginning, be complicated, because we need to understand that all the symbols are not separate in the dreams. They are all connected one to each other. It's like an equation that creates an understanding and a whole. So the four elements that you were mentioning with the first one, with one of them, that is water. So the four elements are quite important in dreams. We have fire. So if we see fire in dreams, it's related to our vital energy. And then if we see air, the element air, it's related to the way we think, to our thoughts. Mm-hmm. Even the radios, we're on the air right now, and it's like our conversation is going through frequencies. It's so magical when we think about it, And it's and so air is related to the way we think, to our capacity to think, and water is related to emotions. So any sort of dreams that are related to water will be in connection with our emotions. And earth, the element earth, is related to the world of actions. So when you were having the experience in dreams that you were talking about in the water, that's great. That means that you are a very, very sensitive person, because the fact that you were breathing underwater and managing that, it's because breathing is related to the way you think. So it is because you are a person that's going to be very, very, your emotions are, you have the capacity to think while you go through an emotion. Certain people, when they have emotions, they are just like, poof, it's so intense that you can't think anymore. Mm-hmm. But it's different for you. You have the gift that you are open enough to be able to think in your emotions, and then you can feel free, etc. So it becomes a forces in you to really, really understand what you feel, understand your sensitivity. So this will be like a strength in you that you have, and another person that will have, for example, a tsunami, and not breathing under in the tsunami, and so it will be like repressed emotions, and there was an opening of the unconscious, and it creates the person will be like very very emotional, very too intense, and even is going to have behaviors that can destroy and that can be manifest frustrations, etc., in a very big way, because the tsunami will the person will become the tsunami during the day or the day before or during a period of time.
Fascinating stuff. There was one that I came across that I found really kind of fun and even funny at the same time. And sometimes I actually joke with people about this. Do you ever have a dream when you're naked in public? And what do you do about that once you realize, man, I'm standing here without any clothes on. There's all these people around me. What do you think you try to do in the dream? And again, from a personal experience, and this goes back to about the mid to going into late 1980s, the first time I can remember this. Now, it wasn't me who was naked at first, or at least my awareness of it, but what it was there was this garbage truck that was going about its business collecting garbage. The person who was generally the one that was throwing the garbage cans was this big black man, and he was completely naked, and he seemed so comfortable about being this way, basically throwing the garbage from the cans into the garbage truck. And then I realized that I was naked, and I thought, well, he seems pretty comfortable about it. And you get the feeling from this person that they were, for lack of a better word, dense, that they weren't really all that intelligent, so to speak, not well educated. And I thought, well, I'll try to be comfortable with this too. Well, through the years, I've had from time to time those particular dreams where you're sort of naked out there in public, and you get to a point where you say, well, I can kind of be comfortable with this, and instead of that feeling of being uneasy. But you talk about this, about a particular dreamer who had felt naked or lost or surrounded by people. What does that one mean exactly for people who may have had that experience in the dream world?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question, and because it leads me to explain something very important in dreams interpretation. Is for a dream to be positive, it is very important that symbols needs to be in order and at the right place at the right time. So let's say we see a snake in a bed, for example. Even if the snake is not aggressive, the snake is not in the right place. So it is going to be a plus, an extra thing related to intimacy, and the snake will be a negative aspect related to the intimacy of the person. And related to needs, because animals are connected to our needs, etc. So in needs of intimacy, of too much intimacy, etc., etc. So in the case of being nude in a public environment, of course, let's say we are just in the middle of the city and we are nude. A police officer will come to us and say, "Hello, are you okay?"
Haven't had that experience, but yeah, I'm sure some others have.
Yes, I'm sure it will happen. So it's the fact that it's not in the right place. It will be a person that sometimes will be too much authentic, will be sharing a little too much, and because of that, we can. Let's say you are a person is a Christmas party, and then you start to talk about dreams and God and angels to certain people that they are not open to that. So they're gonna feel like what are you saying? It's like too much information. So it's like being nude. It's like being too authentic, sharing too much about ourselves, etc. Being too intimate with people when it's not the time, and it can be related also for people that are going through. If the feeling in the dream is negative, it will be related to people that can sometimes feel ashamed of themselves, have a lack of self-esteem also. So this can talk about that. And you see because of the garbage and the man and everything, this was like at the moment you have received that dream, it's because the garbage is the notions, things that we need to recycle, things that are, that we don't need anymore, etc., about our life, about, the way we consume, etc. So there will be like too much authenticity, too much talking about our, because in a dream we will have to do the equation garbage plus nude person. That will explain that we express too much about that, and even if we feel good, it's all right, to feel good. So it makes it less negative, but it will be like in certain environment, it will be like sharing too much information about purification and things that we need to cleanse and to transform.
Fascinating stuff. I know that, dreams definitely have a lot of different levels as well, as you say, different levels of consciousness. And when you think of the power of the subconscious mind, and then there's the superconscious mind, is that, we have had on the program where we've talked about how people make choices, and this is from a neurological state, the way that the brain operates and works. And it's funny how people will go out and they will make buying choices, for instance, things they decide to purchase, or even things they decide to go and do. And really we do things from very unrational, motivations. However, we rationalize why we did a thing or bought a thing, if you will, to sort of basically cover up and make an excuse for why we've done something that could normally be irrational. The interesting thing about dreams is you don't really tend to have that kind of control, at least unless you work at it. But even then, you really kind of have to let go and allow things sort of to happen, even if it is under your control. Talk about that a little bit, because I guess what I'm bordering on with this question or this way of going here is the idea of a person who can become a lucid dreamer, somebody who can control their dreams. And do you suggest this, and are there benefits to that?
Yeah, so the understanding of that comes from the notion that I see the soul as a living computer. And we record positive and negative memories through all our experiences. And this is why, and you are right, because dreams are not rational. And this is why a personality from one person to another, even in the same family, there's 3 children and the 3 of them will be completely different. They will have different way of experimenting things and seeing their environment and the relationship with others, etc. So when we share, when we talk, when we interact with others, we record positive and negative memories. And this is why in dreams we can see the root of our personality, the essence, the memories that constitute totally who we are. Sometimes, we have like, we're normal people and we just do our things and things are going well, and then we're sitting in a restaurant and then there's a conversation that we just grab our attention, and then we look at them and they are people that are disorganized or unhappy or very aggressive. They live so differently than the way we can be with our wife, and it's going so well. We have a nice dinner, and at the other table they're fighting and they're saying things that are so not kind, etc., to each other. And we say to ourselves, if I would talk like that to my wife, she would go away right away. She would leave me
exactly,
on the spot.
The rational world, in other words.
The divorce papers will be on the table, 2 days after. Mm-hmm. And this guy and this woman, there's just throwing at themselves, so many negative information. And it seems to be so normal. That's their way of living. It's very, sometimes, with dreams we can be funny. We can, sometimes I explain in my classes, I say sometimes there's humans that they are like bears. and others that they are like cats or dogs or birds, whatever.
So we truly can or are shapeshifters, in other words.
Yes, so if they are acting like that, they are like a bear family. So it's normal for them to be aggressive and to talk rudely, etc. Because it's their, they've been living like that, their parents most of the time. Because through the law of attraction, we attract who we are. Because I have I have experienced for the last 17 years since I've been working with dreams that one day we can reach in our consciousness, and this is why we can interact with what Einstein was saying, that we were using 10% of our capacity, because I truly think that life is like a dream. And we can interpret concrete situation and become science. And so we receive information. If I am bothered by someone at work, that's because I have a resonance. It's like in a dream. He represents a parts of me. So if I am bothered by my boss because he's too bossy and everything, that's because I have memories in me of that sort of personality. I don't act like that, but I have maybe 15% of energy that are like him. And this is why he's bothering me. And he's bothering me, but at the same time he's helping me to work on that 15% that I have in me. And this is why I have to meet that person, and I have to have that boss. And if I cleanse this 15% of memories, negative memories, and aggressivity in work relationship, then I don't need to work there anymore. And there will be another situation. I will have a promotion, or the boss will be transferred somewhere, whatever. But one day, when we are no bothered by people or things change. Because we have learned certain aspects, and this is why another thing that is so important for our listeners to understand with dreams is to know that nightmares are positive. Evil is educational. We should always learn that we don't fight evil, we educate, we transform, we transcend these information to become better. We use negativity to reinforce our positivity. We should never, never, never react negatively to a negative situation. We should always, always, always take the positive side. The learning process of what we are going through will be the essence of our true evolution here on Earth. So like in dreams, it's the same thing. You have a nightmare, you are bothered by people, you have aggressivity, you will see all sorts of symbols to represent that. That's because you have that at a certain level. You don't act like that unless you'll be in jail. But you have emotional memories that are fighting and hurting others, or you have intellectual way of shooting people with your thoughts. When so many people are shooting people with their thoughts, and it sometimes people are laughing in classes because I always say that if we would analyze the human being at all the levels, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual level, and when we see all the realities of the aggressivity that we can have at other levels, then we would like put a cage on Earth, because the Earth will become a prison because everyone's got something to understand from that. And even sometimes you can have a person, a banker, for example. He's got a notoriety that is extraordinary in his city. He's gonna weekends. He's gonna rent movies that are so horror movies or aggressive movies, etc. Because he likes these kinds of movies. That's because he's got resonance. And he's got things, because he's got a perfect social image. He cannot express it, but emotionally and in his thoughts, he can even nourish negativity. And eventually, if something happens, he loses his job or whatever, his wife just walk away because he was only working and everything, and then suddenly you can see a new personality emerge. He can become he can become aggressive, or he can, he can start to be different at work, or we see things like that sometimes. A good father, he seems to be a good father, and then he's killing the whole family. What happened? What happened? He had a good job, everything was perfect, and then suddenly he's killing the whole family. That's because he repressed negative memories for a long, 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 long time. He had that within himself, and certain events happened, or certain, the jealousy, or the frustrations have increased and increased and increased, and suddenly it creates a physical action. But he had that, and if we could have studied that person for many, many years, we would have seen that the person was watching movies that were very aggressive, always, nourishing thoughts about others, competitions, frustrations, etc. And it starts with small, a big negative situation doesn't come already like that. It doesn't pop up, like that. It always start from little things, from many, many years, from the childhood, with sharing with the brothers or something like that. Frustration there, a little there, a little there, a little there, another one there, another one there. At school, this. The first love affair was difficult, then other frustration, and then suddenly it creates worlds within ourselves. And we can see that in dreams, and we can deprogram that in dreams to accelerate our evolution and to avoid negative behaviors.
And I agree with that dreams are a wonderful way to, let's say, erase the emotional hard drive and kind of reset yourself. There's no doubt about that. And it does take work. Now, what's enjoyable about how to interpret dreams in science, Kaya, is that unlike a slew of books out there, as I talked about earlier in the program, that seem so static, these are the symbols, this is the way it is, I'm the dream expert, so just kind of go with it, and that's the way it is. And as I've suggested, that seems to be a one-size-fits-all philosophy that I don't, and in fact have talked with other people that could be considered dream experts that kind of say the same thing. They go, well, that's, too fixed, and that's not the way the world is. The dream world, as anybody has ever experienced, is fairly ethereal and moving. Your book, as you lay out what you talk about, is from workshops that you have conducted around the world, so you actually integrate stories for the different lessons that, sort of help people move on their way to becoming their own dream journalists, and then be their own dream interpreters and masters, which is really quite fascinating in and of itself. Now, you were talking about nightmares, and I immediately began thinking about, as I read about dreams, trying to study this for myself, is, for one, nightmares were a great thing, especially for this group of people in China known as the Sinoi. And they actually use nightmares as a way to eventually elicit the lucid dreaming process, as we talked about earlier. The other one, too, was Carlos Castaneda, who also wrote a book, The Art of Dreaming, in which he had learned the art of dreaming through Don Juan, which was the character that he writes about in his book, The Teachings of Don Juan and the like. And the suggestion in Don Juan's book was, when you have a nightmare, let's say that it could be, you're being chased or bitten by a dog, the idea was that you turn and you kill this, say, creature, whatever it is that's causing the nightmare, and then you ask for a gift from this. And I started thinking a lot about that, especially as I was reading that part in your book where there was someone who was in the decoration business who found themselves as a Nazi soldier in the dream state in a concentration camp, and talking about how, he was shooting this person through the heart, and then his wife appeared and shot her through the heart too, and so forth. And talk about that in relation to what I was just talking about as far as nightmares and how you can begin to work with the dreaming process.
Yes. Oh, yes. That's so important. First, we need to know that we should never be afraid of our nightmares. Mm-hmm. And we need to de-dramatize negativity. We dramatize too much negativity. Even when we raise our child or children, sometimes we put too much emotions on we dramatize certain situations that are just experimentations. It's like normal for a child to do mistakes. It's so normal. But if he didn't think about it, if he didn't do it in purpose, why do we have to to be tough and rude on him? We shouldn't do that. We should just say, well, okay, you experiment that, okay, you've seen what it does, don't do it anymore. Or just, recenter yourself, your energy is a little bit everywhere now. So just calm down, darling, and then we talk with love, we talk with a presence, and we remember that we have done mistakes, that we learn from that. That's very important. So nightmares is quite the same thing. We should de-dramatize and not see ourselves as, I have so many. That's probably one of the main things when people start to follow and to come to my classes. So because at the beginning, first they're very open. Most of the time, they start to receive nightmares and everything. They don't know what to deal with that, but they feel ashamed of that. They feel, and they can, they don't understand, etc., etc. So the first thing is to de-dramatize negativity and to see when there's a difficulty or an ordeal, it is there for us to find solutions, to evolve from that. It's a puzzle that will help us to fulfill new aspects of ourselves, understand ourselves in a new way, and that is amazing. That is extraordinary. And that is the purpose of our evolution. We need to learn. We need from our experience. It's like a scientist, Daniel. A scientist will be in his laboratory. When he's doing an experimentation, when he doesn't succeed, he's not going to say to anyone, I haven't succeeded. I have found that this line of experimentation, this direction is not the right one, and I'm so happy because I'm putting a cross on it now, and then I'm working. I have solved one part of the situation, and we should, unless if he doesn't say that, he's going to lose his budget of research for the year after. So he's going to have to say that, and in a sense, it's so normal. We should see ourselves as scientists. We experiment, and then we find something better after that will replace the first place where we were in our mind, and we evolve, and we change like that. And I think that's the process of changing is so difficult for certain people. To change is normal. You feel sad in your apartment, you feel like lonely, just change things. Paint, put new colors on the walls, move the furniture. It doesn't cost a lot of money, just to do that. Do it by yourself, have fun and, create creativity, love, and wisdom, and express it, and experiment it. And I think that's how we can find happiness. It's not just through positivity, because people are trying to forgive, to forget. They're trying to forget their negativity all the time, and they do all sort of things to repress memories. They listen to movies. They listen to music. You have a difficulty in a relationship, then you're just going to try to wipe the information, not think about it too much. But we should think about it. We should solve the situation, but not in an obsessive way. We should just say, okay, what do I have to learn from that? And I de-dramatize the situation, so the next time I'm going to talk about that subject with that person, I will be better. I will be different. I will be, I will improve myself, and I will be proud of myself when I do that. I'm happy to because I'm better than last time, and we should see that all the time. We're all children, and we're here to learn. And God doesn't want us to be perfect. He wants us to evolve and to change and to become new people.
Now, would you say that it's our goal in the dream worlds to work with dreams, or should we just be passive observers in the experience?
I think that the process of writing dreams is very important. When
Mm-hmm.
I know it takes a lot of energy at the beginning. When we wake up at night, before you go to sleep, person should put like a journal, a dream journal, a pen, a glass of water, and then you write your dreams. And yeah, of course, not all the details. I always recommend to write the great outlines, and then in the morning we will remember the details if we have the structure of the dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we should put notes like that, even if we don't understand them, and then completely or in detail. We need to also be happy when we understand just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a sense that if you have aggressivity in the dream, you say, okay, I need to work on my aggressivity, so I'm going to be careful during the day because I'm going to be more impulsive than usual, so I'm going to check myself and try to to improve myself on this part of my character. So then you have this. So you're happy with that. The problem is with people with dreams is that they want to understand everything. And if they don't understand the whole dream completely
right.
and all the details, like a specialist that will have, work on dreams for 20 years, then they don't start the work.
It's kind of like the same attitude as, I won't take an action until I can ensure that this is the best that you can get, or this is the absolute correct way I can go about doing this, where there won't be a potential for a negative outcome. And you can see, literally millions of people in this world when it comes to taking those little risks that can improve their lives dramatically, and they want to just play it safe, and they want to be certain about the outcome. And any of us know that life doesn't have that kind of certainty. The certainty is your ability to adapt, to be able to change the situations and work well with them as they sort of come at you.
Yes, that's correct. That's truly right. And so just to have like even if you feel in your dream that you have like a conflict situation, all right, just work on that. You don't know all the details and all the information, but just to start with that, to start with what you feel is right. The problem is with people with dreams. They want to have a crystal ball. They want to see the future. They want to see, they want to become, powerful with that or rich or whatever. So they don't take it as a learning process of improving to have more qualities, etc. But if we read first our dream on always, in the foundation of saying my dreams are there to help me to develop new qualities, becoming a better person, that's the key that is important. So if you see aggressivity or you see jealousy, whatever, if you feel aggressivity, then that's because you have a reservoir of aggressivity. So it will be great that you work on that. You won't lose anything, even if you go on instead of being in Italy, you are in France. Then you're not really far from, you're in Europe. So work on your European memories, and that's fine. You don't have to know specifically, and that is the starting point, I think, with dreams, is really to take the great outlines and feel happy with this and start with that, and then read books, try to understand more and more and more, and then with time you are going to become a specialist.
Now, Kaya, I got to tell you, I really have enjoyed this book when it comes to the dreams and the dream worlds, because you really sort of give, and I'll just use this piece of symbolism, a magic wand to people to open the doors to a tremendously fascinating world that can take us on journeys, and we can learn things, we can balance ourselves. There's just so much that the dream world offers us that really, is just short of just the miraculous, and could even become the miracle in and of itself. Because we're coming to the end of the program, I kind of wanted to end on one of the most important and unusual things I've seen in a dream book. I can't remember that I've ever seen this, and I've read my fair share of dream books over the many years, but I like this one. And if anybody can take anything away from this show here, this is something that is a great practice that I think will be fascinating for people that you talk about in your book. Now, you were just talking about the word aggressive. Okay. We can talk about the word sadness. We could talk about any kind of a different word that you want to, but here's what I loved was that chapter from dictionary to dictionary. Why don't you tell our listeners what that's all about?
Yeah, that's a way that I have learned through time to interpret dreams. Let's say you have you can use a normal dictionary, and then you read a word and you read the interpretations, the concrete word. Let's say you go to a lion, and then you start to read about lion, and you start the way they live, their life, etc. And then you transpose that in terms of consciousness. And then you're going to see that a lion is related to the kingdom, so it's like a king. He's got a very solar attitude, etc., etc. Then you understand the behaviors, that it's related to power, that it's related to authority. Then you link the symbol on the normal dictionary, and you discover the dictionary with a big D, with a capital D, and then you understand the qualities or the weaknesses that are associated with that symbol. So we can do research. Let's say you have a fox in your dream, then you do research on internet, and you go and study the behaviors of the fox and how it behaves with each other, etc. And then you can have a connection with your dreams and you transpose that in terms of consciousness. That's how we can do that.
I just found that just to be one of those neat, useful things that people can start today in implementing. And in fact, here's an interesting dream, and this was one my wife shared with me not too long ago. We get ourselves a dog, and this is the first time she's ever had a pet like that in her entire life. And there's also a cat in the house. Well, from time to time when he sees the cat, he goes after the cat and chases it. And she said she had this dream where here was the dog and here was this rattlesnake going after him. And she was wondering, well, what's that all about? I said, well, think about the rattlesnake, for instance. It's an animal that you know that strikes out. And you see the dog and you're worried or you're in fear for the dog, but maybe what is happening is the dog represents the cat and the feeling that the cat is vulnerable and the rattlesnake is actually the dog and that you're worried the dog's going to strike out and bite the cat. She says, I never really thought about it that way before. And I said, but furthermore, and applying what you have in your book here, the rattlesnake that you picked specifically a rattlesnake. Now, one of two things can happen. A, you've seen mostly documentaries or whatever about snakes and it was always about a rattlesnake, or that was the actual symbol brought to you by an outside force and the rattlesnake, just because there are a lot of different species of snakes, and then the rattlesnake itself. And so you say, well, I'll go to the dictionary and I'll look up rattlesnake and then take it, and you say you take it from the dictionary meaning to a metaphysical meaning. So there's two dictionaries. There's the literal definition and then the metaphysical one.
Yeah. Daniel, I have to say, I have another interview at 10
I know.
morning. I'm going to have to go real fast. I'm so sorry. I hope we can start again. If you wish, with great, great joy, I'll be very happy to be your guest again.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. So if people want more information, I am in Portland tonight at the New Thought Center for Spiritual Living at Lake Oswego, and Thursday night at the New Renaissance Bookshop in Portland, also at 6:30. And they can have information on KayaDreams.com.
Very good. Kaya, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Yes.
Definitely a subject you can get lost in.
That was great. That was a very beautiful moment of knowledge.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
We also want to thank you, the listeners, for tuning in. We don't tend to get too engrossed like that, but be sure to visit us at our website at beyond50radio.com. We do have a free weekly e-newsletter that you can subscribe to as well. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Beyond 50 radio program, and remember, Live your day past halfway.